I identify as a entrepreneur. I really love hearing other people's stories. And I think my entrepreneur journey is unique like everybody else's, but it is I'm trying to always identify what somebody else is doing
Uh-huh.
successfully and then try to mirror copy that. I think as I tell my story, they're going to be places where it's like, oh, he stole that idea. And I go, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
started by selling car parts. And if I really think about it, it came from my father, who was a mechanic. He would buy cars, fix them up, sell them, or work on other people's cars, and then going to a junkyard to find the parts, because most of the cars that he worked on were older, was just the way that you did it. You didn't really go to the parts store too much. So on one of the trips to the junkyard, I pulled a part and then sold it to a friend of mine
Yeah.
just from seeing what my father was doing. So this
Awesome.
journey of entrepreneurship kind of started by just looking at what other people were doing. I think like you, that there are solo years in the entrepreneur journey. Like I wasn't doing it with my dad. I just kind of saw what he was doing, emulated it, and then tried to
Uh-huh.
apply it myself. That I
Yes.
made money off. And that was the first time I made a decent amount of money at one time without a ton of work. I mean, I worked at
Mm,
McDonald's, I worked at a ton of restaurants and everything else, and just realized like that's not what I want to do. There's no
right.
job that someone's going to be able to tell me come in here and clock out here, because I'm very creative, and it just like always stifles my creativity. At least that
Yes.
when I was 14, 15, going through that was what I was
Yeah.
going through. So
You mentioned something
after,
key right there. You started with something that you knew. And so there's many ways to start. You could have said, you know what? I think I'm going to go to school and learn how to be a coder and develop video games. Now, you could have done that, but that would have been way outside of your skill set. It had nothing to do with anything you'd previously done. You were doing car parts. You thought, let's start there. And so, guys, that's a big key is if you're trying to decide where to go, if you're, I know a lot of people listen to this, the goal is for people who are kind of already started their business and they're trying to get unfrazzled and scale, or not have to do everything in their business. That's the main goal. But if you're listening to this and you're at the beginning, you're like, where do I start? Just start with that lowest hanging fruit. What's right in front of you? What's something you already know? What's something you have? Maybe it's selling something around your house that junk sitting in your garage. Get it on Facebook Marketplace, start bringing in some income. But that's good. You started with car parts because you knew car parts. And so it's brilliant. It just meant you didn't have to learn a completely new skill. And that was an easy entrance point for you. So start with the least, the path of least resistance. Just
lowest
take
hanging
action.
fruit.
Yes.
And I think that's another ongoing theme in everything I'm doing, is trying to find the lowest hanging fruit, something that I know starting anything is difficult. I'm trying to look for the quickest way to success. And I think that's why I identified like emulating. I know this can be done because I've seen it, saw what my dad was doing. I sold that car part to a friend, but there was just something that like a light bulb went off. This can be done. I could do this again. How do I sell more of this? So just talking to a lot of friends and seeing what they were working on, what car parts they might look for. And then I had like a hit list when I went to the junkyard. And I would pull those parts and then
It's a
sell
bolo
those.
list.
That
Be on the
Yes.
lookout type of list because you knew what would sell.
Bolo, be on the lookout for. It is what I was doing, but I say it quickly in the story where it's like, oh, the next day I had it was months and months and months to like,
Sure.
who has a car part, who's working on, oh, your father's doing this on an old Trans Am. I think I saw a Trans Am over at this junkyard, and being able to like piecemeal it together. A ton of time, energy, and effort, but it was enjoyable to me because it was like it's not a job, it's not a 9 to 5, and I can get paid for doing something that I semi enjoy.
Was your
the next part of the
car?
story.
Did you love? Did you love the car parts? Was that super fun, or was that just a means to just create some income?
I think as I look back, it was enjoyable because I was doing it with my father. And it like I've always kind of turned wrenches and been greasy. So at the time, I think it was fun.
Yes.
It snowed every year in Michigan. And one year we had an ice storm, and a friend of mine really needed a car part because he was about to go to the track. So I went out to pull that. And that was the day where I was like, this is not fun. Like it's fun in a very like hyper specific point. Like when my father is driving and going to a junkyard and I go with him and he drives and I have his tools, that's when it's fun. When I have to go in my own car and get my own parts and talk to the people and pull the part and be in the cold, that's not fun. It's the same task, but this one's hyper specialized where it's like, I only like this for these reasons. And I think this also helped me in my journey to like, looking back going, why didn't I like that? And what was the next thing? It was very easy. I didn't like the cold. It snowed. Everything was frozen. I banged up my knuckles. I was bleeding. It was just like, after getting that, it was probably the most money I made in that. But I was like, if this is what it is, I don't want to do this. But I do like the selling aspect. Just that cold day made me realize, like, what is it that I like about this? And what is that I don't like about this? And then let me try to find something that fits more of the like than the don't like. So I was like, outside, whatever the parts are, they can't be outside. They have to be inside, because I like heat. I hate snow. So if it's something I want to do all year round in Michigan, it has to be something that I'm buying inside. So then I was just looking at, how do I do that? I sold a couple parts on Craigslist. That's what gave me the idea to sell on eBay, and just like looking on eBay and what's selling on eBay, car parts, but then just like in general, what is selling, and then seeing, again, I don't know if I leaned into like my expertise more than just like, oh, a lot of this stuff looks like stuff that I see in a like thrift store. I should go to the thrift store and just educate myself on that, because it checks these boxes of what I like. I like buying the thing, selling the thing, working at my own hours. This seems like another opportunity to do that. So I was just selling a whole bunch of used stuff on eBay. Then I think, like you, just trying to educate myself, listening to they weren't podcasts, but listening to some YouTube videos, because YouTube was around, reading books, and just trying to figure out different things. Then I stumbled across how to sell on Amazon, and I was like, oh, there are other selling platforms. There's different ways to do this. I don't have to have all this stuff in my house, because one of the next pain points I ran into after the cold was my wife didn't want car parts and stuff all over the house. I had it like stacked up on the dining room table, and she was like, I love you. I love what you're doing, but this,
this is not cool.
You asked me, like, do you like doing the car parts? No, but I enjoyed the money aspect of it. I think this is what happens, is as soon as that pain point overcomes the amount of money that you're making, then it just helps you refine what it is that you're truly enjoying or like about what you're doing. Because like I said, if it never snowed, I might have kept doing it, or I would have hit another pain point where it's like, I don't like this aspect of it, where I'm now driving to the shops. I'm constantly talking to all these people and having to figure out, making relationships. And I go, I don't like that. I'm sure there would have been something, because it wasn't like a pure bliss that I was doing all that stuff. And I think now, as I've done a lot of these different ideas and gone through it, it's a constant refining to go, what is it that I want? I think as you start off as an entrepreneur, like you're doing it because you don't like the job, but you need the money. So you start a thing, like you with the furniture, with me, with the car parts. You just do something for the money. But then as you do it and get better and gain skills, you refine what it is that you like. And then I believe there's going to be a pain point where the money is not enough to overcome the pain points, but you now have skills and identify what you do like, and then take that to the next level. I think that's why I love the entrepreneur journey, because it's always like, I started here and now I'm way over here. And then I go, how did you get there? Like, what were the aha moments in that? I think the first one is, you want money, and then you hit a pain point. Then it's like, that's the next refining stage of this entrepreneur's journey. I think it also starts with the solo side of it. All of this was pretty solo until I started reading the books and educating myself, and then trying to reach out to people and go, hey, I would like to learn this. Can at least we have conversations? In the book that I read about how to sell on Amazon, his phone number was in there, and started calling and reaching out to him and go, I didn't know you could do this. I didn't know you could ask other people who are also doing this thing. Because I always assume like business is competition. You're always competing with the other person, but it's not always like that. Normally when you get into industry, like everybody's trying to help each other grow and get better and understand, because everybody understands like it's a constant learning, growing, and the market is constantly changing. So if you're at the top right now and you think you're killing it, give it a couple of months, a year, you're also going to be on the back end trying to figure this thing out. So you need that community to help you. But I'll go back to my story. From Craigslist, selling on eBay, to then on Amazon. Amazon now is where I'd say it changes from solo to now I'm in a little bit of community. I don't have a mentor. I haven't sat down with anybody, but just selling on Amazon, retail arbitrage, buying stuff from stores, buying stuff online, selling it online. And then I heard about private label. And then I also won an auction and found out and sat down with somebody for 2 hours and just emulating their success and seeing what they're doing to build that relationship. And I think this is where it really catapulted me to the next level, to go, oh, I don't have to just like learn from these other people. We can partner up. We can have a bunch of different ideas. We can do all these things. That's when I started having digital products, selling, coaching, teaching, going and speaking at live events, like just like a whole new realm opened up where I was like, I would have never assumed I would have done any of that. I enjoyed being successful in a thing, but then to like teach other people was like, why would I ever enjoy that? But then I was like, that's the thing I really like. And I think from that private label, launching brands, then teaching, I transferred into consulting, which I'm doing right now and I love, and it provides me enough income to then invest in other things. So now I'm doing real estate. I'm enjoying like the path that I'm on, and also the current like status of what I'm doing. I wake up every day energized and excited, because I think like the questions you asked, did you enjoy it? I didn't enjoy a lot of those things going through it, but it just helped me identify what is the thing that I really like. I love helping
when you were doing the car parts, did you have any idea that you'd ever be doing consulting?
No. I think I identified early on what I liked about it, which was helping people. I'm helping this person get what they need, providing a service, and I'm getting paid. But the biggest piece of it for me that I enjoyed was the helping. I think that's why as soon as I went like deep into private label and everything, I was like, I don't feel like I'm helping. This is very lucrative, but I'm losing what it is that I like about any of this. I hate the logistics of it. We can set up a lot of things where an email goes out and it gets sent to another person, and the shipment comes over and it's all docs, and I don't have to touch anything, but I didn't enjoy it. Now looking back, what I should have done is like set it up correctly and sold it as a business, because it would have really helped me. But I just entrepreneur, just like light it on fire and go to the next thing, because that's been the trajectory of everything. Is just like,
but it was
whatever
yours
I was
is
just
a
doing.
journey of discovery. Like you just you could have been back in Michigan thinking, what do I want to do? Well, let's wait until I really find exactly what I love, and you might just be sitting there still trying to figure that out without taking
action. I think is that first. Yes, I think this is something we should talk about a lot on this podcast.
Action, and we talk about with action comes clarity. So just still you could potentially still be selling car parts if you had a team that was running that for you, and it was a machine pumping out money that you just kind of check in from time to time, and then you're able to focus on what you really love. So
I think the book E-Myth really helped me identify like, I am a true entrepreneur. I love building the house, the business, the systems, the SOPs, but I don't like managing or getting too into the nitty-gritty after it's a repeatable process. That's when I need to hand it off. So coming to that realization and going like, how do I now be an entrepreneur and still be able to function without like burning? Because I think a lot of other entrepreneurs have that too, where it's like something that's really successful and making money is just not fulfilling you. That's another like turning point, which that was probably a harder turning point, because I was like, now I'm about to stop this income stream, when in theory, what I really should have done is had a manager hand it off. Like that's why I look up to you, because you've done it. What I feel is like, that's the correct way of doing it. You want to move on to the next thing, you don't light a match and pour gasoline. It's like you position somebody to take it over, so there's still an income stream coming in. Then you go to the next thing. It was like, obviously, you don't just run away and torch the building, like
blow it up. That's funny. Do you feel like this is almost like Pavlov's hierarchy of needs? You know what I'm talking about, where he talks about like if you are in a position where you need food and water, and I might butcher this, but your only focus is to survive at that point. You're just looking for food and water. And then, eventually you get that. Okay, now it's like, I need shelter. Okay, you get that. Then you're at another level. Then it's like, okay, I need a car. And after that, it's like, okay, now it's like, I have everything I feel like I need to survive. And now I can focus on others and so I think your journey in entrepreneurship people's is typically like that. You start something that just provides you some income. You do that for a while, like, ooh, you know what? I never really enjoyed that so much. What I really want to do is this. So having that income coming in from the thing you didn't really enjoy so much, maybe you did enjoy it. That's great if you did, but it's okay to have something that you're doing that is maybe not the thing for you. It's providing an income. It's providing that basic need, allows you to quit your job, maybe even, but then having that income coming in then frees you up to think, okay, got that going. I've put a team in place. I got a system in place, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about on this podcast. Now, what do I really want to do? And so that will free you up to think about that question and start dabbling and taking action in that direction. Like, ooh, that I like this. I don't like this about it. Allows you to experiment because you got money coming in and you're not like, fighting for survival. You're not looking for your next meal because your business is going along well. So that would be a fun conversation.
I think another thing I identified on me is like, I am a survivor. Like I've started at zero a lot of times. So I'm not afraid to jump and into the action. Like having a successful e-commerce business and then just dumping it and jumping was terrifying to everybody around me. Everything I do is terrifying to a lot of people around me, but I think I've done it so much that it's like, this is how I operate. Just
Right.
not understanding there's a better way of doing it. Just
Yeah.
this is my habit for doing this. I need to break out of this habit because it's not helping me in the long term. I should have had that successful business continue to be a successful business. It doesn't prevent me from moving on. I just have to set it up in a way that somebody else can take over or manage. Then it allows me to go on to the next thing. I just love the next like thrilling thing of like taking nothing and turning it into something.
Yeah.
But it's a good skill to have, but the way that I was operating was not the correct way to operate. But I think from what you were talking about, like, do you love it? Or the people that find what they love, you'll never work a day in your life. I think there's two sides of this. I don't think I've ever truly found the thing that I love. So I think that's why I continue to just like run after something, because I was like, I'm trying to find what I love. I'm way closer today than I was when I started. But I think there is a doing action that encumbers something that hits a pain point, that then like the self-reflection comes into where you have to ask yourself, do I like this? Did I enjoy it? What is it that I want to do? And then you're building that. I'm extremely jealous and envious of people that can just like, I'm a graphic designer. I go to work at this company. I'm a graphic designer. I'm fulfilled every day. I come home. I get to turn off work. I get to do whatever I want, go on a boat, fish, whatever. I am jealous of that because I've never had that. I'm getting closer to it now where it's like, I enjoy this and I enjoy this activity and this activity, and I can line it up in such a way where like my day is full of enjoyment. But those people that have it right off the bat, I'm very jealous of. But I think if you're an entrepreneur and you feel like you're jumping all over the place, I would just implore you to take a step back and just like assess what you're doing and the parts that you enjoy, and then try to get rid of those parts that you don't enjoy. And I think that's another reason why I'm very excited about this podcast and working with you, where it's, I've learned over the year to get to where I'm at. There are tasks that need to get done in the business, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do it. Going from solo entrepreneur to community to then like mentor to then now I have a team of people. That's where it's like the most freeing for me, because I go, I can still accomplish this task and do this business, but I don't have to be involved in the parts that I don't want to. I can custom create my own office building and dictate what floors I want to be on and operate it the way that works best for me.
True.
But it's just handing off those tasks that I don't enjoy, and everybody's different. And I think that's why I love that entrepreneur story, because it shows where people start to where they are now is just a wild ride, and then just picking up those cues of like, yeah, I did that too, and I didn't like that, and I didn't enjoy that. Oh yeah, I did have the money, and I was unfulfilled, and I can identify that. I think everybody kind of has the general chapters. Every story is not the same, but the general chapter is like, oh, you hit that level too, where you were doing a thing and you didn't like it. Yeah, me too. It's like a kinship with other entrepreneurs.
It is. Yep, absolutely. Wow. Anything else about your story that you want to share before we wrap
No,
up
but I
this
want
episode?
you to tell the story how we met.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. So you talked about the auction. So because I saw how successful it was for Jim to have that auction and be able to give some money to a cause he cared about. In 2017, I also had an auction for my brother and sister-in-law's orphanage in Guatemala. It was an eBay auction, and I partnered with Jim and a couple other people to put together a package on eBay for a fundraiser. And so we posted it, and Stephen won that auction. And so he emailed me after. I don't remember what the amount was, but he emailed me afterwards.
I think it was the same 2,500, and it was the same thing. I prayed about it. It was
mine was 1,500. Yours was 1,500 too.
Maybe it was 1,500. I don't remember. I just remember it was at a point where I did a large product shipment for a lot of shopping that we were doing, and we were extremely thin, and I was like, this is all the money that we have right now, and if that product that I bought doesn't really work out, this is really going to set us back. But again, not the fear of that for me, but just like I'm married now, and my mother's living with us. So my actions don't just affect me. I need to really sit down and pray about it. And I prayed with my mom, I prayed with my wife, and then we all kind of talked about it, and we all felt this was the right move. But it was a very stretching point to where it's like, this is maybe unwise, but something is calling me to do this. And I remember hearing your story, and it was just like, it was the same connection through it.
Yes. So you emailed me also, and because I was going to do a 30-minute or an hour phone call, I think is what I put in there. And you emailed me and said, can I pull a Ryan Rieger and come to Texas and hang out with you and go to lunch? And you and your wife Desi did, and we spent 3 hours at lunch and got to know you. And as a result of that, we've done multiple things together. I don't think it was necessarily that started it. I mean, we probably could have met other ways, but that definitely shortened the amount of time that it took to get comfortable with each other.
For
We've
sure.
done projects together, and other things. And so, yeah, that's just, and that's a whole other topic. We can talk about who are you trying to talk about,
Connect
the Dream
with.
100 strategy that our friend Dana Derricks talks about. And, who is it that is your dream client, your dream just partner in a business, somebody you wish that would promote your stuff? How do you get on their radar? And there's a lot of different ways to do that in a non
Sleazy.
weird, sleazy, manipulative way. It's like, literally, how can I serve this person? You do that amazingly well. Like, you've come into our audiences and served, and that's really been a blessing. And it's served you well too, because now we're you partnered with a lot of cool people, and it's brought in income for you.
I think this idea of business is, to me, like, yes, the day-to-day operations might be like, you build SOPs, standard operating procedures, and they're in order, and it's like an assembly line, you kind of knock it out. But to really grow, I think it is relationship based. I think it's more of who you know than what you know.
Right.
I always look for other people's success and try to emulate that success. But I think once I identified, like, oh, you can reach out to these people and talk to them and like really leapfrog your success. Yeah, it wasn't like I was trying to turn that money into a relationship that I get to talk to Ryan. It was like, it's just, this is a way for me to, because I met you before for like maybe 2 seconds when I shook your hand at the very first CES. It was like, I've met him, I know him. It was like a sense of pride for me, but it was like, for you, it was probably like, you shook 100 hands. You're not gonna remember the one hand you shook, but to sit down with you for an hour, it would have taken me a lot of live events, a lot of like being on the different lives that you do, and to like build up that relationship where it's like, I get to sit down with you, and 2 hours at one time put together is going to at least start this relationship, where it's like, before it was get in front of you, be nice, shake a hand, like, does he know who I am? Am I on his radar? This put me on your radar, and we can just start to talk. I think it was more for me, like, I identify and relate to so many things that Ryan has done. That thing that he did with Jim was amazing. Then, because I heard that story long before you had the auction. Then as soon as you had the auction, I was all in. But then I realized the position that I'm in, I have other people that I have to run this by. I can't just like do what I normally do, is jump. I have to make sure this is the right call and right decision. Then that turned into a relationship. And I think this has also helped me in business. So just like, relationship is a super powerful thing. How can I get the relationship with this person? What are the skills? Like you were talking about Dana Derricks, like, what are the possible things I could do to help build this relationship? They're not sleazy. They are winning an auction, if that's the thing. It is being on the live. It is answering the different questions. It is going to events that they're at and shaking their hands, and not trying to get married on the first date, but just like introduce yourself. Do you remember the first time we shook hands at the very first CES?
I don't, because that was
that's what I'm saying. Like, it was, to me, it was like, we connected, but I was like, it's a unrealistic feeling. I know that you're there, you're presenting a hot pitch, people are meeting you. It's not a standout thing. But if I would have shaken your hand there, and the next one shook your hand and made sure I come up to you, it was, I wasn't going to all of them or going directly after you to like connect with you, but it was a way for me to see an in to now be connected. Because I was like, I know Ryan, I feel like I know him, he might not know who I am. Let me try to get in front of him so that we can have a relationship. Because if we went to that, if you said, no, I don't want to go to lunch with you, and just had a call and we didn't connect, it wouldn't have happened. And I'm okay with that. And I would have been okay, because there were other things about that auction that I really wanted to help out with. But it did lead to this amazing thing. And I think this is what I'm leaning into, is business is all about relationship. And I love that part of it.
Yep. Great place to end there. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed our stories. That went way longer than I thought we'd go, but that's what happens when we get together. We just talk and we have fun. So hopefully you enjoy this. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Take it easy.